Earlier this month, the Easthampton City Council passed a resolution supporting the so-called ROE Act, a proposed law that would increase access to abortion in the Commonwealth. I sat down with City Mayor Nicole LaChappelle to discuss the reasoning behind the decision.
Standing with my fellow mayors on the State House steps, was one, really affirming as a woman that we had among mayors and the leaders of the city, support for basically full access to reproductive health care and health care for women. Coming back to the city, and actually City Councilor Peg Conniff was the one who introduced it, and she and I had a couple of conversations how so important on the most local level that the ROE resolution was passed by the City Council to say to our residents that we're going to stand with them so they have full access to health care regardless of gender, and that those decisions made by the federal government or maybe the Supreme Court to take back the rights under Roe v. Wade, that we as local elected officials will stand with the folks in our community who deserve, not only need, but deserve those services.
So there's a couple things here that we should unpack for folks at home in case they're not following this very closely. With what the balance of power on the Supreme Court right now, there are some concerns among people who support abortion that Roe versus Wade, which legalized abortion in the 70s across the country, might be overturned. So in step with that, states, including Massachusetts, have started to look at what the law looks like on the ground in their states. And so there is a proposal at the state level. It's currently stalled at the Judiciary Committee. But basically, it would allow abortions after 24 weeks, and I'm reading here from the legislation, to protect the physical or mental health of a patient or in cases of diagnosed lethal fetal abnormalities. That's one piece. And the second, which I think is more controversial, is to eliminate parental consent requirements for teenagers seeking abortions. So that one in particular, I've heard from parents a lot saying, if the case is being made that this is a healthcare issue, which I think supporters have positioned it as, my kid wouldn't go in and have a surgery on their arm without me knowing about it. This would be a very serious decision for a young woman to make. Why shouldn't a parent know about it?
So it's interesting. My daughter, who's now 29, but when she turned 16 and we would go for our checkups, when it came to the GYN part of that exam, I wasn't in the room. Nor was I asked in the room, and that wasn't because of my daughter, but that is the procedure and best practice of that kind of care, of women's health care, reproductive health care. So those decisions and that frank conversation between a doctor and a woman of 16 is important, that trust is built as soon as possible. As far as accessing reproductive health care, perhaps a termination of a pregnancy, that is a personal decision, whether a woman is 16 or 26 or 30. Women should be encouraged at 16, at a younger age, if they are perhaps pregnant, to have a very open, trust-based conversation with healthcare providers to start with what is best for them and their body. It is a very serious conversation, and one that shouldn't be influenced by somebody who has clear power over somebody's body, whether that's the relationship between a parent and child.
When City Council took this up earlier this month, you were there, obviously. There was a very long public hearing, about an hour. For those who don't watch City Council meetings in and out, that's a lot of time to be spent on one issue.
Absolutely.
Were you surprised to see the amount of discussion that the public brought around this issue?
No, I mean, it's a very divisive issue. There are those, and I am included, it's a medical procedure, and it's a health care conversation between a patient and their medical team. There are those who have strong feelings, mostly based around religion and this thought that a fetus is a life or a person, and they have a right, to their opinion and to come out to the public forum. I thought it was very healthy given what this issue has done across the country. The number of folks who came out didn't surprise me. It was interesting that many of them were from outside Easthampton. And I think that goes to the importance of these conversations around very divisive or controversial issues happen at the local level, first and foremost.
And I should clarify also, the resolution that was passed by the City Council, it's non-binding, right? There's no...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it really is a statement to our residents in Easthampton of the thought of City Council by way of what their constituents have talked to them about and conveyed their values.
In speaking about the number of people who stepped up and said something either in support or against it, one gentleman who spoke up, the Daily Hampshire Gazette reported, Jim Bernice, and I hope I'm saying his last name correctly, he pointed to what he sees as a contradiction because the City Council, Easthampton, has made other stands, specifically, for instance, regarding a resolution condemning the abuse of migrant children in detention centers. And his point is, how can you be supportive of children in that instance, but be willing to take an unborn child? He sees a contradiction there. Do you see that contradiction?
Well, I mean, I don't see the contradiction. I think, I mean, my mother, fought and was very outspoken for Roe v. Wade when it was heard. And then I had to speak up and actively push back on Roe v. Wade in the 90s for what my daughter, would, and my daughter's now fighting the fight. This is 3 generations that women are just fighting for basic control over their bodies. The comment made at City Council around unborn children or an unborn child, I think is the way someone refers to what the medical community does not refer to. You're talking about the beginning of a pregnancy or a pregnancy that is grave threat to the child or the mother, and that there are very sound medical interventions. Again, people have their own opinion and can express their thoughts, but every opinion doesn't become a fact and doesn't become law.
Yeah, and I should say, I believe it's the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology has come out in support of this proposed law in Massachusetts when you're talking about the medical community there.
Yes,
I'd like to move on. There's several issues, ballot questions facing voters in Easthampton, one of which City of Pittsfield has made this change to a 4-year term for mayor. Currently, you're mayor.
I am mayor.
You're campaigning every 2 years.
Yes, I am.
And there's a ballot question. What's your position?
My position, I mean, for my personal mayoral, tenure, whatever that may be, according to the voters, 2 or 4 years, I'm more comfortable with. I'm more comfortable with campaigning as I'm working on policy. And
so you're more comfortable with a 2-year term?
For me personally, I really don't have an opinion.
Got it. Okay.
For who I am and how I govern and administrate as the executive of the city, I do think that the change to 4 years is important for those who are looking at running for mayor in the future, whether that is against me or just in general. 4 years gives someone who is, one, less experienced in campaigning a little breath to administrate. I think it also gives someone who's looking at serving a little more job security for 4 years rather than 2. If that ballot measure is not passed, I think we're really kind of cutting ourselves off at the knee. I mean, future candidates will look at that completely different if it's 2 or 4. So
do you see the 2-year term as giving the incumbent a bit of an advantage then?
I think so, in that if you were looking, I mean, it is a privilege to serve, but more and more across the country, it is that you need to be privileged to run. And I think those are 2 very different things. And of course, when you're running for an office, the point is, and the honor is to serve the public. And if you're not going to run because it's only 2 years and you don't have the capacity or are financially stable to just take a job for 2 years with no guarantee, I think we cut ourselves off short and really our municipality.